Welcome to the Independent Advisors Podcast, where we dive into the world of stocks, tradable markets, and financial planning with Jessup Wealth Management's Chief Investment Officer, Mark McEvely, and CEO, Matt Jessup. You'll hear tips, tricks, and strategies to address your financial well-being, and most importantly, conveyed in a way that everyone can understand. Here are your hosts, Mark and Matt.
Welcome to episode 320 of the Independent Advisors Podcast. On today's show, we have Cory Earl joining us. Cory is the president and publisher of the Dayton Business Journal. We'll be discussing the current state of the Dayton economy, drivers of growth, risk and headwinds, and opportunities for the future. I'm super excited. Let's jump in. So this week, we're blessed to have you, Cory. We're going to skip pricing. We usually talk about just pricing of the markets, performance of certain indexes year to date to give our regular listeners some context. But since we are very blessed to have you on the podcast, we are going to skip that this week. So, Cory, before we dive in to the Dayton economy, can you share a little bit about your professional journey, your role at the DBJ, the Dayton Business Journal? And for our listeners who may not be familiar, what's the mission of the DBJ in the local business community?
Sure. Well, first off, thanks, Matt, for having me on the podcast.
Super honored.
It's a great opportunity. I know we've been connecting in the business community quite a bit, so I know we've been in the works. So it's great to be able to join you,
yes, sir.
And see your beautiful offices here,
yes, sir.
As well that we were talking about. So before we get too far that way, let's see. So professional journey. Graduated from Wright State.
Fellow Raider with me.
Fellow Raider, that's right.
I love that.
In 2010, that's also where I met my wife, Emily.
I didn't know that's where you two met.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah. So she was in a sorority, I was in a fraternity, we just met, and then, it was magic from there. So.
I have been blessed to meet your wife. She's a phenomenal person, and you two are a great couple.
Well, I appreciate that. Appreciate that very much.
Before we get into this week's show, listeners, if you've been enjoying the Independent Advisors Podcast, I'd encourage you to head to our website, jessupwealthmanagement.com. I offer a 15-minute initial call where you can discuss your financial goals and see if JWM is a good fit for your needs. Scheduling is easy. Once you land at the jessupwealthmanagement.com website, just click Schedule Initial Call and select a time that works best for you. There's a quick survey to fill out that will help guide the conversation and ensure your time is used efficiently. If you're ready to learn more, visit jessupwealthmanagement.com and book your call today. So when you graduated college, what was your journey up until today?
Yeah, so in 2010, graduated, went to school for marketing and management.
Yes.
On the way out of graduation, I landed at the Dayton Business Journal.
Yes.
So been there for quite a while now.
Yes.
Joined as an account executive in the same year. And so an account executive, we would build marketing campaigns and help businesses grow.
Yep.
Through various, marketing solutions, advertising, things like that. And that's what I went to school for. So that was kind of nice.
Yeah, right in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, connecting with folks in the business community has been incredible too, right?
Yes.
So you can grab a coffee with business owners and just, made a lot of connections that way and really, really enjoyed it. And then from there, I was promoted to senior account executive after 3 or 4 years, something like that.
That was quick. Awesome.
Yeah. So it was, I had to work my way up and learn the system and also work with a lot of the other markets as well. But as part of that responsibility, I was able to take over, had the privilege to take over the internship program.
Great.
So, leading and mentoring our sales interns was really, really enjoyable for me. You spend time with folks and you pour into them and they pour into you, and it's a beautiful thing. So that was really, really fun. And then in 2015, I had an itch working with others out in the community. I work with a lot of ad agencies.
Okay.
And I developed a relationship, and they asked me to join one of the local ad agencies, Graphica, at the time.
Yes.
And so in 2015, I went there and led business development efforts up until we were acquired in 2017. So that was the goal, build a lot of business, position yourself in that way. And we were actually acquired by Upward Brand Solutions.
Yes.
So a lot of websites and things like that, and design, and calling on large brands and all kinds of stuff. So it was really, really cool. Great experience. And then once that happened, Don Baker had moved into the president and publisher role at the DBJ. And I had worked with him at the DBJ in the past, and he said, "Hey, would you come back and would you lead the advertising team?" I obliged. It was a great opportunity, and when you move on from a job like that, a corporate job, you have nice benefits, you have a lot of flexibility. There's a lot of leadership opportunity, and so coming back really felt like home.
I bet.
And with us having 3 kids, we have to have that safety blanket.
Yes, sir.
As well. So that was really, really nice coming back. So came back in 2017 as advertising director. And then in 2021, Don got tapped to be publisher in the Seattle market.
Okay.
So that was a big jump.
Big
Seattle
jump.
was a huge market, well-deserved. He's been doing great there, and that offered me the opportunity to move into the role. So ACBJ tapped me and asked me if I was interested. I said yes, accepted the position in 2021.
Congrats.
Thank you very much. And so it's hard to believe it's been 4 years at the helm already. And it's really been, just like the internship program, it's really been a privilege to lead our team. We have an incredible team, and we are the sum of all of our parts, individual contributors, but we all are moving in the same direction, and teamwork and collaboration. So it's been great. I
want to commend you. The DBJ does a regular event. It's Coffee with the DBJ. Am I correct in saying that?
That's correct.
So I was a guest on that podcast, and it gave me the blessing not only to be at your office, but it gave me the blessing to meet the team. And I want to commend you as a leader, because I picked up very quickly that you have a very vibrant and healthy culture at the office. I got the sense from the team, everyone was happy. I can tell that they were really excited to be there, and just the feeling of the culture is something that is hard to create, but I can tell you created it, and I think that's a great sign of a leader, from one to another.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, and again, haven't done that alone. You provide direction, you ask the right questions. Our leadership team, Caleb Stevens, our editor-in-chief.
Yes.
Nicole Mistretta, who you also met.
She's phenomenal.
Our managing editor. And then Paige Turkelson is our event director. And so that is our leadership team. We have us 4 kind of leading the way, and then get input and feedback, and work with the team and what we want to create. And what we laid out was, if we reimagine the DBJ, what would that be? And what do we want it to be when we come in? How do we want to feel? How do we want our customers to feel? And also, business can sometimes be draining. It can be very formal.
Sure.
And not that we can't, be those things and not necessarily draining, right? Like anything's exhausting if you take it on. But working with the team and understanding, what each individual needs and what motivates them. And understanding how to best support them without getting in their way.
That's well said.
It just
builds that culture.
Yeah, appreciate that.
And I know a lot of local business leaders like myself, they make it like a routine throughout, like at least once a day. I got a shortcut on my internet browser, DBJ, you're checking that front page, what's kind of the breaking news for that day in the Dayton business community. I know I'm not alone in saying that. There's a lot of local business leaders that have that shortcut, definitely saved on the internet browser. So
bookmark it.
Absolutely. Under your leadership, I think the DBJ is doing an excellent job.
Appreciate that.
So let's kind of pivot. Let's talk about the current state of the Dayton economy. So I think you have a very unique vantage point, Cory. So from your vantage point at the DBJ, in your own words, how would you describe the current state of the Dayton economy, and what industries or sectors are showing some of the strongest momentum right now?
Yeah. So first off, great question, loaded question. I need to preface this at first by saying that I am not an economist.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, as you know, but from my vantage point, I have the unique opportunity, speaking with my editors, speaking with our reporters, and just speaking with our team out on the streets, our sources, clients, et cetera. Overall, we are seeing a general optimism.
I would agree from my vantage point.
And so that general optimism, you have you can have a split, right? You have business owners who are very, very bullish about where the Dayton region is right now and where we're going.
Yes.
And you have others who understandably are cautiously optimistic, right?
Well said.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And so just understanding, what that looks like for our economy and what the business owners are saying and how that can change, right, based on a number of factors that, I'm sure we'll get into.
Yeah, I think that's well said. I think this is just my personal opinion. I feel that as I was getting going in the industry in the 2000s and I was working downtown at the time, I felt the challenges that the Dayton economy went through during the great financial crisis. And I would argue that we were disproportionately affected in a negative way during that downturn. And I would also, on the flip side, say that the momentum that's been slowly building despite the pandemic over the past decade, really encouraged at where the Dayton economy is going. I'm getting this feeling that this next generation, the individuals in their 20s and 30s, are going to be a great generation for the Dayton business community. And I'm getting a feeling from some of the business leaders that I interact with, I feel like they're starting, for the most part, to put their foot back on the gas pedal. And some are pressing down harder than others, but I would argue, they're no longer kind of braking. I feel like it's more on the acceleration side, which is great to see.
Yeah, a couple of things that I would add to that. I would say, general optimism, we are on the upswing.
Yes.
Right? So, if as an example, in March of this year, earlier this year, Site Selection Magazine,
yes,
ranked Dayton #1 in our tier, and our tier is 200,000 population to 1 million.
Wow.
And so in that tier, we were ranked #1, and not only #1 this year, but #1 2 years in a row. And so we have been a part of Site Selection Magazine's rankings. I looked this up actually since about 2005.
Yeah.
And in those 20 years, we have consistently been a part of the top 10. But we've seen a really big trend these past 2 years and these past, I'd say 3, 4, 5 years of really coming out of that. I'd say even since the pandemic, maybe even before, but a lot of new economic development projects, a lot of new things coming our way with a lot of great leadership in our community, leading the way and getting those big wins that we need. And I know we'll dig into a little bit more of that as well. The other piece is downtown, right?
Yes.
So we work downtown. We're in Stratacache Tower. And downtown is seeing an incredible resurgence.
Yes, keep going.
Incredible. The Dayton Arcade,
yes,
right? The major project. The Dayton Convention Center.
Big.
Yes.
Big. And I was been blessed. I'm a part of Dayton Rotary, and we've had some of the speakers from the convention center come in. And when they were laying their case for the capital investments, not only for the convention center, but the surrounding area, they were providing a lot of data that in order for them to get some of the bigger events, they needed more hotel rooms with a closer proximity. So now that you have things like the Hilton Garden going in at the Dayton Arcade as an example, I think that this could be really big for just that trickle-down effect of more visitors. So I don't mean to cut off your thought process there, Cory, but I'm in a big agreement that what a lot is happening downtown is really going to build momentum on itself.
Yeah, no cutting off at all. I appreciate your energy and your optimism.
It's great.
There's a lot of great things going on, and we need to tout that more often. Even just the other day we launched On Main. And
yes, keep going.
We're getting shovels in the ground on that, the Imagination District, and that's a partnership between Premier and UD and quite a few others as well to really reimagine the Montgomery County Fairgrounds.
So, when we talk about kind of, the Dayton community and in general, again, I'm seeing a lot of drivers of growth. So, what do you see, Cory, as some of the biggest drivers of economic growth in the region, whether it's local entrepreneurship, larger employers, government or military presence, or outside investment? I know it's kind of a very loaded question for you, but from your vantage point, when you hear the driver of economic growth, what are some of the initial things that pop into your head?
Certainly. So the one we hear all the time, and to be frank, there are some business owners that are like, we're tired of hearing that. But I must say, Wright Pat Air Force Base.
I think you have to start there.
We have to. And here's why. Here's why it matters. It's the largest single site employer in all of Ohio.
In the whole state.
In the entire state, here in the Dayton region.
Yes.
So how blessed are we to have that in our region?
Yes.
And, shame on us if we ever take that for granted.
Yes.
Because, if you look back, I'm trying to remember the years, but we went through BRAC, base realignment and closure.
Yes.
And, we had some great leaders at the time, one of them being JP Nassif, who, I talk to all the time, and he really gave me the background, the history on that.
Yes.
And Jeff Hoagland at the Dayton Development Coalition.
Great person, been on the podcast before.
Great person. Oh, he has?
Yes, he's great.
Oh, fantastic.
Yep.
I'll have to look up that episode.
Yes.
Speaking about Wright Pat and understanding that as goes Wright Pat, it's our strongest economic anchor in our community and opportunity creator.
Yes.
Right. So there's a ripple effect, the things that happen at Wright Pat and the things that happen with businesses who support Wright Pat. So you have to start there. And then, I think you go to large employers. We're blessed to have an amazing hospital system.
Yes.
With, healthcare system, if you will, with Premier, with Kettering, Dayton Children's. And then other large employers are academic institutions that continue to bring folks into the region as well and make us very competitive, right? We'll talk about workforce and some other things. We're working through that with the state of Ohio in general, but those academic institutions are really important, such as UD, right? Alumni. Right?
No. Mark's UD alumni. I'm Wright State.
Oh, got it. Okay.
But I also went to Sinclair.
Got it. Okay, yeah. Yep. So UD, Sinclair, Wright State.
All huge employers. Huge economic impact.
Yes. And they can't be, underappreciated. The economic impact that they bring, how they prop up our community and build the workforce of the future together. There's so much always going on there. So you look at the hospital systems, you look at the academic institutions, and then you don't want to forget about large employers as well, like CareSource.
They're a huge economic driver
as well. Huge economic driver. They just keep winning contracts in all kinds of different states, and we'd be foolish to think that doesn't benefit the Dayton region.
Big time.
And they're great leaders in the community, and folks like AES Ohio as well, and I could go on and on. So
again, I think that you're pointing out that we do have a lot of, let's call it, foundational organizations that are strong pillars that I think the Dayton community is going to continue to get built around. And going to back to the Wright Pat comment, I believe it was last year at the Dayton Rotary, we had Congressman Mike Turner. He usually comes in once a year as a guest. And he was making a comment that surprised me, and I hope I get this right. He said, and I'm going to do the best I can to quote him, over the next 5 years, there was going to be some further realignments of jobs. And I thought he said in excess of like 3,000 jobs were going to be headed towards Wright Pat when he said this. And I just started thinking about, oh man, think about the economic drivers around the Fairfield, Beaver Creek, Xenia, Yellow Springs, the Greene County. It's going to be a huge driver, just homes and the trickle-down effect of that.
Yes.
So that's just, I think, Wright Pat, you starting there is just a spot on for a gem that we have in our backyard.
Yeah.
That I think it's sometimes we just take for granted.
Exactly. And that's dangerous. And
it is dangerous.
That's why when you hear it repetitively, there's a reason, right? We don't want to lose the impact that it has on our region and the connections. There was a story that was told, I think it was 100 years ago, something like that, where Wright Pat went to the business community, and when they went to the business community, within 48 hours, they were going to shut down or have some closure or something like that. I may be getting this story wrong, but the idea was Wright Pat and the business community, and so goes, right? Both of us working together. And so Wright Pat wouldn't exist without the business community, and the business community probably would have a really hard time existing without Wright Pat.
Yes.
So that's really important. But a couple other pieces, I would say, drivers of growth. We are centrally located. So we're the crossroads of America.
Yes.
Right? 70, 75, which makes us very well positioned for logistics, transportation, distribution, et cetera. And then the other piece is we don't want to forget about quality of life and affordability.
I'll keep going.
Right? So we have an incredibly vibrant arts and culture ecosystem. Along with that, when you go out to the shows like Dayton Live or Dayton Performing Arts Alliance,
Human Race Theater,
exactly. You can go on and on and on. And we're blessed. Again, a lot of folks in our community may not appreciate that as much as they could, because they don't always have that outside perspective. And I know we'll probably get to that in a little bit, but you don't know what you have until you leave and you come back, or until it's gone, and we don't want it to be gone. So arts and culture, the restaurant scene, right?
Yes.
So what the Idea Collective,
the past decade.
And what, their group, Sueño, Tender Mercy, Chris Dimmick and their team, what they're doing out there, along with Tony and Pete's, as an example, downtown.
Yes.
I know my team goes to Tony and Pete's and all the different places, Koji Burger and a lot of other ones as well. So it's really great to kind of see that resurgence downtown, and that entrepreneurial kind of fire that is coming back into Dayton and lighting. And we're just getting started with what that renaissance looks like.
It was funny. My wife and I were at a kind of a restaurant / bar lounge called the Silver Slipper on Wayne Avenue.
Yes, been there.
Great place.
Great
and
place.
We were sitting out back, and this couple was next to us and just started some light conversation. Turns out they live in Lebanon, and they drove up all the way from Lebanon because they heard of the restaurant scene in downtown Dayton being so vibrant. And when I heard that, it just warmed my heart to really kind of see where Dayton is now compared to where it was 15, 20 years ago. It was phenomenal to hear that.
And that's the goal, right? So we also hear, if you look at Dayton now and you look at Cincinnati maybe 20 plus years ago, and I may be getting the dates wrong, but the over the Rhine, and the redevelopment and all of that. I remember, starting at DBJ, and everyone's like, you have to go to the Golden Lamb and you have to go all these places in Cincinnati. And now it's kind of nice that that's being reversed, and it's like everything is happening here.
Yes.
And it's a beautiful thing.
It really is. It really is.
Yeah.
Okay, you were talking about some drivers of growth. I love how you highlighted, 70, 75, and you were talking about how Dayton is coming up number one in a lot of these site lists. And then you were talking about a good place to live and raise a family. And what I want to emphasize there from my vantage point is when I travel and I talk very, very highly about living in Dayton, I'll usually get this question, and I want to see if this happens to you, Cory. Usually it's, well, it's Ohio, and you like living in Dayton? It's kind of the initial response. And when I respond with authentic enthusiasm about it is the perfect place to raise a family, the cost of living compared to the rest of the country, I can get, if you're centrally located, I can get anywhere within 20 to 25 minutes.
Yep.
We have all of the great things that a bigger city would have without that hassle factor. And when you start looking at the ability of where we're geographically located, I mean, you can get to the East Coast on a flight with a little bit over an hour.
Yeah.
And you start just going down this list, especially the cost of living in Ohio for a major city. I can't think right now in Ohio of a better city to raise a family.
Yeah.
I really feel that way.
Yeah. I feel the same way too. To answer your question as well, I get that as well. Oh, Dayton, is that near Cincinnati or Cleveland or
Exactly.
And I grew up in Bowling Green, Ohio. So some people will mention Toledo, and I'm like, yeah, it's around that area. But what I also respond with is, clearly you haven't been there yet.
Oh, I love that. I'm going to start doing that.
Yeah,
I'm going to start. I like that.
Yet because and not like in a condescending way.
Of course
not.
not.
What I mean at all. It's just well, hey, we need to get you there because you're missing out.
Yes.
And understanding, I think when people think of Dayton, I think they think a couple things. I think they think 100 years ago you guys created flight.
Yes.
And what have you done since?
Yep.
I think that's a real perception out there. I think that there's a dusty manufacturing perception. And you guys have a good basketball team, and you guys do some things around first four, right? And the basketball team that's
the national view.
Yeah, exactly, the national view. The UD Flyers and how far they've gone in a lot of those NCAA championships, and the one where we were robbed, if you will, during the pandemic.
That was rough.
But I think those all exist, but it's really important as well to push back, but also share. And, what I always tell my team too is often it's about just educating. It's just that people just don't know.
Yes.
They only know what they know and what their experience has been. So how do you change that experience? Well, you give them a different thought, and then you let that kind of grow, and you invite them in.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I think that's important for us to continue to do in the region.
We wanted to take a minute and tell you about a service we personally use and trust, LifeLock by Norton. With everything we do online these days, protecting your identity and personal information is more important than ever. That's why we've partnered with LifeLock, a leader in the identity theft protection industry. Their mission is to empower people to live their digital lives safely, offering tools to help protect you and your family from threats like identity theft, cybercrime, and fraud. They combine advanced technology with 24/7 support to keep your information safer in today's connected world. We use it ourselves, and we think it's a valuable tool for anyone looking to add an extra layer of protection. If you're interested in checking it out, you can use our special link to get a discounted rate. As a heads up, we do receive a percentage of compensation if you sign up using our link, but we partnered with LifeLock because we believe in what they offer. To learn more and get the deal, just head to jessupwealthmanagement.com/LifeLock.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly, Cory. And what I would throw out there is, listeners and viewers, when you are traveling, if you're from the Dayton area and you are traveling, the more that you can talk highly about the community and get that word out there, it has a trickle-down effect, right?
It does.
So let's kind of pivot, and I like to talk about what I would call kind of risk and headwinds. So every economy faces risks, right? Every company does your typical what I call SWOT analysis, right? So, in your conversations with business leaders, Cory, you're ultra connected. What are some of the most common challenges or concerns that you're hearing that could threaten Dayton's momentum? What's your thoughts on the topic, sir?
That is a great question. And the number one issue is always workforce.
Keep going.
So workforce, and as you heard at Coffee with DBJ, which by the way, thank you for being a guest and coming into
It's a phenomenal
our home.
podcast for our listeners and viewers. I would highly recommend checking it out.
Yeah, appreciate that. So that, that's the consistent number one issue and priority for almost every single business owner. We hear it across the way. And, I think that we're fortunate, right? So you address what those challenges and those risks are, and you don't run away from it, but you also say, what are we doing because of that? Or in spite of that, or to solve that. And so we are really blessed, as I said, with the academic institutions that we have around here. Again, UD, Wright State, Sinclair, we've got Clark State in Springfield and also in Beaver Creek. We've got Central State, we've got Edison Community College,
Wittenberg.
up north, Wittenberg. And then we also have an incredible leader in Cassie Barlow at Sochi.
Yes.
And the internships that they're creating for employers.
She was on the Coffee with DBJ episode with me. She was phenomenal.
She was a guest that day.
Yes.
And so we have some really cool stuff actually in the works for 2026 that we're going to be partnering on. I'm not going to share all of it, but I'll just say real quick that we're going to connect employers, academic institutions, and students all together.
Huge.
And it's going to be really, really cool.
Now, let me tell you why that's huge in my opinion. I think we have such great higher education institutions, but one of the things we got to do better at is keeping them here.
Yes.
Right? So let's take, in my backyard here, very close, University of Dayton. My business partner, Mark, grew up in upstate New York. And his mother originally attended University of Dayton when she was younger. And so when him and his twin brother were looking around at colleges, his mom said, hey, you just got to go look at least University of Dayton. I think initially my business partner was thinking, big school. He looked at Penn State, looked at OSU, came to UD, fell in love with it, and then interned here with me, and next thing you know, stayed in Dayton.
Yes.
And if you use that as an example with what Sochi's going to do and what your partnership might end up doing with them, what goes through my mind as a business leader is, if we can keep more of that talent here in Dayton, and they start to really realize everything I mentioned before that makes Dayton such a special place, it's going to be one of those drivers to the human capital that we need in this town to continue that momentum.
Yeah.
How's that? Well said?
Very well said. And also, Dayton Business Journal, right? We are a media company, but we're a solutions company, and we want to be part of the solution.
Yes.
We want to help create the solution. Some things are in our wheelhouse and some things aren't, but this is something that is in our wheelhouse. I want to give a shout out to Shannon Cox as well, who leads MCESC, Montgomery County Educational Services Center.
Yes.
Who is over all of the Montgomery County schools, is an incredible leader in her own right. And when I shared the idea with her, she was like, love it, we're on board. How do we help with transportation? How do we help with communication? And it's exciting. So anyway, I don't want to get too far on that. But going back to, thinking about some of those challenges. So we talk about workforce. We cannot pretend like the current administration doesn't present some issues for the community.
Yes.
What I would say by that is, the tariffs, supply chain, especially earlier this year.
Yes.
The uncertainty around that. We just heard tariffs on, furniture coming in and some other things as well. And it's just one thing after another every single week and sometimes every day.
Sure.
And it's always changing. So, there's good and bad with that, right? It's meant to, in some ways, help the business community. In other ways, it leads to uncertainty in the business community. And so when people are, ready to make plans, it's hard to make plans when you don't know what's around the corner.
Yeah, that's kind of, that's well said. And I think one thing that really helped is now that, for better or for worse, the tax package, the tax codes kind of set for a little while. I think that helped, lift some uncertainty for the business community side of it. And then we kind of went through this period, I'm going to call it late spring to kind of late summer, where, okay, the tariff stuff was behind us for the most part. And now that's kind of coming back into the news a little bit, as you were insinuating, which just kind of adds sometimes to that hesitancy sometimes for business leaders to make some bigger decisions.
Sure.
But to build upon what you said about kind of the workforce, Again, you'll see me reference some of the speakers that we have at Dayton Rotary. There was an individual that was speaking from Montgomery County, and he was mentioning that the number one issue they see with really large employers that are considering doing business in the Dayton community is just the lack of workers. So we got to do a better job at attracting workforce, age people who are workforce to the community. And if we did, the insinuation is it'd be a slam dunk to get a mega large employer to want to do business in Dayton. And, it might take a little bit of you build it and they will come type of thought process. And I think it's only a matter of time before we continue to get some pretty big wins, like a Joby aviation type of win. Is that a good way of saying it?
Well, and we're already making progress in that realm, right? We're winning these economic development projects, and that's part of the puzzle, and that's a very hard piece of the puzzle. So, for us to get that, then we need to fulfill that. We need to fulfill that with workers. We need to fulfill that with the support from the community, and that's what we do best. And so, along those lines of workforce as well, we should probably talk about housing.
Go.
So housing is really important as well, because I think the need for affordable housing and the significant rise in home prices is something that we should definitely be aware of. And it's not just in the Dayton region, it's nationwide.
Sure.
So, housing is a big piece of it. Also, the lack of land potentially to build on. Some of our cities are landlocked. Some of them have good opportunity in them. And then the other piece, it seems like 2020 pandemic, that was 5 years ago, but we are still reeling, if you will, and recovering from the pandemic and return to office.
Yes.
When DBJ went back, the return to office is basically what it's been deemed. But I always told our team, and we considered it a return to community, right? So we're in the office, but we're out in the community.
Yes.
And it's not butts in seats, 8 to 5, anything like that. It's a hub. And as I shared at Coffee with DBJ, our office is a hub in the community. I got
that sense.
Right? Well, thank you. And that's why we invite in, executives as well, too, and really use it as more of a hub. We connect with each other there, but we also know that someone's running out to lunch or someone's got a coffee or the reporters have, a lot of things going on, so we might not see them. But the return to office is important because restaurants, especially downtown, are, if you don't have, if those workers are working remote, they're not necessarily going to those restaurants downtown on lunch break. Or after work drinks, if you will, or, go into the Dragon Stadium afterwards, whatever it might be. And so if you don't have those workers, you don't have as many customers. And we're building that back right now. Downtown ACBJ, American City Business Journals, our parent company, did a downtown vitality index study.
Okay.
This was in 2024, so this was last year. And it ranked downtown Dayton number 15 out of 45 plus markets.
That's huge
in our network.
That's huge, Cory.
And it is huge. It is huge, right? We still have room to grow. There's always work to do. But again, instead of beating ourselves up, we need to really tout what's going well and spotlight that and tell those success stories. Katie Meyer at the Downtown Dayton Partnership is doing a phenomenal job as a new leader there.
Yes.
Just the community. I'm lucky to have an inside view being on the board of the Downtown Dayton Partnership. So I joined that.
Did not know
earlier.
that, Cory. That's phenomenal.
Yeah, thank you. Kind of took on quite a bit earlier this year, but joined the board. It's given me really great perspective. And there's just an incredible group of leaders, and everybody is asking the right questions. There's a lot of really cool stuff going on downtown, too, that we can't talk about just yet, but more to come on that. And then I also have a really interesting view. I'm very blessed to have joined the Destination Dayton, which is our local CVB.
Yes.
Convention and Visitors Bureau. And I always knew that, they brought in groups from out of town and things like that, but I didn't realize the impact on hotels and restaurants and the hospitality industry.
Yes.
learning.
When they have events in the
Yes.
economic driver that it brings.
Exactly. And the convention center.
Correct.
Right? So understanding, and even DBJ, we support the convention center as much as we possibly can as well, right? There are a lot of different locations around the Dayton area, but the convention center needs our support. They have built it. We need to come, and the businesses need to come, and
Yes.
we need to keep bringing in groups from outside to experience all that Dayton has.
So 40 Under 40 was held at the newest part of
Yes.
the Dayton Convention Center, which I saw. Is it Paige in your organization that handles all of the events for the DBJ?
Yes. So
You know-
Paige is our event director. She was promoted to that late last year, but she's been with our organization almost 10 years now. And she really thrives doing that. Obviously, it's a team effort, but she's a consummate professional.
You could tell the meticulous attention to detail and how refined the process was. And so she did a great job. And then going back to the convention center, that was a new part of the convention center that was previously not used. And you want to talk about a modern, fresh conference area. It was great.
Yeah.
And again, that's the type of economic drivers, because when we had that speaker at Rotary, they were going through the trickle-down effect of when they have an organization use the convention center and how it just really did the economic driver behind it.
Yes.
Hotel, restaurants, shopping, go down the list. It is big for the Dayton area.
It's incredible, and the renovation that has happened there and made it the beautiful spot that it is now, because it needed some work, and we knew that, and that's why there was a task force built around that. But it is there, so
Yeah.
we need to continue to build on it. And we've had some incredible wins on the Destination Dayton side as well, and so really excited about where that's going.
That's fun.
And 40 under 40, by the way.
Yes.
Previous 40 under 40
Yes, sir.
recipient.
Yes,
so,
sir. I'm very
yeah.
proud. Very proud.
Well
I believe
earned.
the year was the pandemic year. I think it was 2020.
Yes.
And my business partner, Mark, he won a couple years ago. My wife was very blessed to get the honor as well.
This year, Rachel won.
Correct. And it is, I would argue, this is my personal opinion, I feel 40 under 40 is extremely a prestigious award. And I think the organization does a really, really good job with that honor. I think you guys do a great job with it.
Well, thank you so much. That program has actually been around 20 plus years.
Has it really?
Probably even 25. I might be getting that wrong. But, with that too, how do you continue to reinvent? How do you raise the bar?
Yes.
And that's exactly what Paige has done on our
Yes,
team.
I would argue the event was great this past year.
Absolutely. But it's also our news team, right? Like they write the bios for all of the 40 under 40. They do great interviews.
Yes.
And, it's really a kind of a rite of passage, if you will. And then what we're working on as well is we want to continue to re-engage 40 under 40 alumni.
Yes.
Right?
I
And
saw
build
that this year. It was neat.
Yeah. Thank you. And build that database and make sure that we're remaining in touch and that they're remaining in the region as well. Yeah.
I got a random thing that just popped into my head that I didn't bring up earlier that might be a great segue into our opportunities for the future. So I'll kind of segue into this question, and then I'm going to throw something out there initially that's going through my mind. The question I had prepared for you, Cory, is, how do you think Dayton is perceived by people and businesses outside the region? We talked a little bit about this a little bit ago. But, what can we do better to shape that narrative, about the local economy or what opportunities you see for the future? One that came into my mind is I recently received a correspondence from the Dayton Chamber of Commerce, and they are trying to seek some support for the Dayton International Airport.
Yes.
And they're seeking some support to bring in additional either airlines or the airlines that are currently utilizing Dayton International Airport to increase either new cities or frequency of flights. And what a lot of people don't understand is for an airline to make a commitment, they would love to see some financial support to kind of get a new route off the ground. And I think and this is my 5-10 foot from the topic. It seems to be the Dayton International Airport itself can't undertake this, that the Dayton Chamber of Commerce is taking this initiative to raise some funds. And I think about the most recent route, Dayton to Denver on United. I have been on that flight a couple of times, always packed. I know right before the pandemic, American had a flight to Miami, and then the pandemic hit and they had to cancel that.
Yeah.
But I feel with the bridge that's going to be redone in Cincinnati is going to cause a lot of traffic headaches. Columbus Airport's going to be in a massive renovation that's going to make it a little messy the next 3 to 5 years. I think Dayton has a really good opportunity here to get people utilizing the Dayton International Airport again. And again, it goes back to that trickle-down effect. So that's one of my comments about the opportunities for the future. Either your thoughts on that or anything else, Cory, that comes to mind on the topic.
Yeah, no. So in terms of the airport as well, we just need to remember, just like Wright Pat Air Force Base, we need to support our local airport.
We do.
Right. And so it's a little bit of the chicken and the egg, do they get the flight? And then if we can't fill the flight, they're not going to get the flight.
That's right.
And it takes a collective effort. So one of the things is, when we talked about drivers of the region, and then I'll get back to it, is I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the organizations and the leaders who are leading the way in that realm. And, it starts with Dayton Development Coalition. Jeff Hoagland and team do an incredible job and working with Jobs Ohio.
Yes.
Right. JP and his team for all of Ohio, and they are changing the game on how Ohio is viewed. And they're doing an incredible job on positioning, messaging, and really overcoming or reinventing the perception of Ohio and what we actually
on
have
a national level.
On a national level.
Absolutely.
And on a statewide level. I just saw Jobs Ohio, had the Forbes 30 Under 30 Summit in Columbus as well. And
Love that.
Again, that's in Columbus. That's not in Dayton. However, the trickle-down effect is great. It helps all of Ohio. So goes the region. So
Visibility.
goes the state, right? And so DDC, Jobs Ohio, Dayton Chamber, Chris Kirshner and team, they have an incredible team, and the collaboration is fantastic. And then again, the Dayton International Airport, I want to make sure I'm not missing anybody because I had a list here that I want to make sure of.
Yeah, Gil out
Gil
there.
Turner.
He's the leader, I would argue, the Dayton International Airport.
Yeah.
Great individual, doing a great job out there.
Yeah, fantastic leader. And again, we need to be able to speak with one voice and continue to build that support. So even Destination Dayton, as I had mentioned, they bring in a lot of business to the region, which helps the restaurant, hotels, et cetera, and quality of life. And then honestly, we have economic development professionals who don't always get the spotlight, right? So they're in our counties, they're in our cities, it's the city managers, it's the economic development directors who work hand in hand to win a lot of these things. And if we didn't do this as a team, we wouldn't be as successful. So I wanted to go back to kind of the drivers of growth on that. And then, the reality is the perception. I think some people understand what Dayton has to offer.
Yes.
And some people don't. And that's not anyone's fault. It's just how do we help them understand what we have to offer? And those who do understand what we have to offer, how do we help them continue to spread that message and encourage that? And so I think, we've talked about transplants to the region, right? You mentioned Mark from New York as well. And some of our best stories are people, especially Wright Pat Air Force Base, right?
I was going to get there.
Folks, right?
Yep.
It's like coming into little old Dayton, but then just like Cassie Barlow says, after I got here, I fell in love with it and I wanted to stay. And that is a story over and over again.
How many times have you heard that?
A lot. Yeah. A ton of times. So those are all testimonials, right?
Yes.
Now, to your point, how can we shape, a better narrative? What can we continue to do? We are making great progress, and there's still room to grow. There's still room for improvement. It'll never be completely done, but some of the areas I think we can collect those testimonials. I think that we, can speak with one voice even better. I think we're doing really well. We collaborate really well. But
sounds like Destination Dayton's doing very well on that front.
Yes, absolutely. Destination Dayton. I mean, again, DDC, Downtown Dayton Partnership, all of the groups, Montgomery County.
Yep.
A lot of the counties, just leadership in general, but there's still some siloed activity, and you'll have that in any city.
Sure.
But that siloed activity, the more that we can kind of collaborate and speak with one voice, I kind of want to call it, maybe this is an idea for the future, one Dayton.
I like that idea. I like that idea a lot.
One Dayton.
I like it.
And the idea is we all speak with one voice. We all Destination Dayton has an academy where you go through, and if you haven't done this, I recommend it. I'll shoot you the link.
Please.
But we have an academy where you go through and you learn about the region, just like Leadership Dayton.
Yes.
With Dayton Chamber as well, which I've been lucky to be a part of that as well. Emily is actually part of that this year.
Phenomenal.
As well. Fantastic leadership program. But by going through that, you learn more about the region.
Yes.
Right. And so understanding that, and then I think, we need to be loud. We are humble, Midwest humble.
I like where you're going with this.
There are a lot of Midwest cities who tout themselves, and we don't tout ourselves as much as we should.
I agree with that.
I've heard, and some people will say our biggest challenge and opportunity is being humble, right? Our biggest challenge is humility and, we don't want the spotlight and, shucks. But our biggest opportunity is to lean into that.
Yes.
And talk about what we're proud of. So I think being loud and proud and being consistent, right? We got to tell the success stories that we have in the region. And then honestly, we still probably have work to do by investing in a larger campaign. Jobs Ohio is doing a lot of that stuff too, but through the Dayton region, Dayton Development Coalition, Dayton Chamber, there's some things in the works, but I still feel like we can do a lot more together and build that out. And so I think, but it's all about consistency.
Yes.
You can't just do a 6-month splash or something like that,
You can't.
right? This has to be a 3 to 5 year consistent, intentional effort. At least, right?
Yes.
And you're building that foundational messaging and reinforcement, because going to school for marketing, advertising, you know that one ad or, one
Short campaign.
yeah, one short campaign, one well-placed article that is very educational. If you don't reinforce that message over time, and
Yes.
it's just like raising kids, right? Like you could tell them once, but you got to continue to reinforce that message. And then sometimes they still won't listen to you. So you have to have a third party,
Yeah.
just like kids.
Keep going.
To be able to get the point across. You have kids, your kids sometimes. Mine just the other day, we were talking about, I forget what it was, and they're like, hey, I heard this at school, and I was like, we've been talking about that for a while. And so, but they finally came around to it. And so I think, it's a big mix of those types of things. The other thing is, I think we can do a better job of dialoguing like this.
Yes.
But also coffee for, 20, 30 minutes. We need to, in this community, we need to continue to ask each other what each other needs.
Oh, yeah, I love
right?
that. I love
and
that.
What is that's what Coffee with DBJ is too,
love it.
as you know those questions,
Yes.
right? What else does our community need? What are we missing? And then I think we work together in endeavor to solve for that issue. If we just listen to each other, we have the answers.
Yes.
We have all of that.
We have the network, the resources.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Even the outside perspective, you have that, but really it's just like if you're leading an individual on your team, oftentimes they know the answers. They just need to hear and be reinforced that they got this.
Yes, and the confidence to move forward.
Yes, and Dayton has that. We have that in our history. I think, the 3 great things about Dayton, I always say, is, our innovation, our history of innovation. So going back to, the Wright Flyer and you guys created flight 100 years ago. Well, we've continued to innovate, and we're continuing to lead the way in innovation. It just looks a little bit different now. We're resilient, right? So we bounce back. We have grit.
Yes, we do.
We have grit.
We bounced back after the GFC, the Great Financial Crisis.
Yes. And I mean, the tornadoes around here, the shooting in the Oregon district,
Yes.
Our community has been through a lot.
Yes.
Even, manufacturing job loss in 2008 and a lot of that around that time frame, and just recovering from that and reemerging in a different way. And then the final thing is collaborating.
Yeah.
I think we collaborate, and you don't know it until you leave and you come back. Or
well
even
said.
like the Dayton Development Coalition does the DC fly-in.
Yes.
And, it shows we have 200 plus leaders that go to that. And even in the city of Dayton, we talk about it and we're like, we wouldn't be able to get everyone together because everyone has obligations, all these different things, right?
Yep.
But we're all in DC for just a few days, and it's incredible. The networking, all of that. And you see the collaboration
Absolutely.
firsthand, and you see the advocacy and everybody on the same page. So continuing to build on that, but we collaborate better than any community out there. I mean, I would put us toe to toe, and that's exactly what Jobs Ohio is positioning us as state of Ohio, most military friendly community. And, we just have a lot of really good things going for us. And we need to talk about it more.
Cory, you are just a great face for the Dayton community and the momentum that we have, and a great advocate. This has been a great discussion, and I'm very thankful to have you on. Before we wrap up, can you share with our listeners the best ways to follow you and the Dayton Business Journal online? And for those that want to stay plugged into all the events and opportunities the DBJ hosts throughout the year, what's the best way for them to stay up to date?
Sure. Well, first off, thank you for the opportunity as well, too. I want to commend you on what you guys have done
Thank you, sir.
in the community. This podcast,
Thank you, sir.
It's making an impact as well, and not only the business, but it's the community that you surround yourself with. I want to give your wife a shout out as well.
She is phenomenal.
40 under 40 this year, but her leadership, and I've seen it firsthand, and so has Emily. My wife on the YWCA Women of Influence.
Yes.
Emily and I are event chairs, and we're lucky to be that, for the second year in a row, and we'll be rolling off after this year. But seeing, what Rachel has taken on, and a lot of those things are underappreciated or not always seen. So I want to shout her out.
Well said. And,
Yeah.
and for some of our newer listeners, my wife, Rachel, has taken over the board chair at the YWCA of Dayton, and they had some challenges like a lot of nonprofits have had.
Absolutely.
The last couple of years, and she's done a phenomenal job providing some really good leadership, working hard to turn that organization around. They have a phenomenal interim CEO in Teresa, and I feel like they are definitely talking about momentum and upward trajectory.
Yes.
I feel like that's there, so I appreciate you making that comment. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. We're looking forward to the Women of Influence event in
March.
March 2026. So that's really exciting. And we're really building some incredible momentum there. So appreciate the opportunity to allow me to shout her out. So Dayton Business Journal, you go to DaytonBusinessJournal.com.
Yes.
And you can follow us on any social channels. For the most part, we're on Instagram. We're active on LinkedIn, Twitter, and quite a few other ones out there. And then, personally for myself, I'm very active on LinkedIn.
Yes.
For the most part, I share a lot of DBJ content. Leadership, marketing, personal development type of stuff as well. And always try to add some context to it. One of our questions, the Business Journal lens is, why should anyone care?
I like that. And you're always thinking through that prism.
Yes.
I like that.
Yes. And it goes back to our mission. You mentioned our mission earlier, and I apologize for not getting into that. So our mission at ACBJ, we have 45 plus markets across the U.S. We're headquartered in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yep.
And we're really like the local Wall Street Journal.
You are.
Hyper local in the different
Absolutely.
markets.
And it's great.
And, and we lean into that, but we wouldn't be where we are if we didn't have the crack editorial teams that we have in all of our different markets, and especially ours. Editorially, we have to ask the right questions.
Yes.
To build and deliver the business intelligence.
Yes.
We also have the advertising part of the business. Moving into the president and publisher role, I realize, hey, I have quite a few different areas now that I need to lead and oversee. And advertising is just like reporting, where you ask the right questions and then you match and customize solutions around that. And then the events part of our business is really cool as well. So anyway, just
and on the Dayton Business Journal website, you can get all the events.
Yes.
You guys do a good job of kind of listing those out.
Yes. So, whether on the website, we also have an events calendar. We have an editorial calendar that lays out every single list that we do throughout the year, all of our special sections, and then all of our events throughout the year as well, too. But yeah, you can reach out out to me on LinkedIn, any one of our team members, very active on there. And we'd love to hear from you.
Cory, this has been awesome. Great podcast.
Yeah, appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, sir. We're going to leave it there for time. So thank you, everyone, for listening to episode 320 of the Independent Advisors podcast. We'll be back with you next week for episode 321. Take care, everyone.
Thank you for listening to the Independent Advisors podcast. If you're interested in hearing more, hit the subscribe button so you can be notified every time a new episode gets released. Feel free to share with friends, family, and follow us on Twitter at Jessup Wealth, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Mark and Matt will continue to share beneficial information on these social media sites. Also, check out the podcast tab on their website. That's www.jessupwealthmanagement.com. There you'll find links to every episode of the Independent Advisors. Have questions or topics you want to discuss on the show? Message us on Twitter, LinkedIn, or send an email with the words questions and topics in the subject line to inquiries@jessupwealthmanagement.com. We'll talk about it right here on the podcast. Certain sections of this commentary may contain forward-looking statements based on reasonable expectations, estimates, projections, and assumptions. Forward-looking statements are not guarantees of future performance and involve certain risks and uncertainties which are difficult to predict. All indices are unmanaged and are not available for direct investment by the public. Past performance is not indicative of future results. This podcast is provided for general informational purposes only and does not constitute either tax, legal, or financial advice. Although we do go to great lengths to make sure our information is accurate and useful, we recommend you consult a tax preparer, professional tax advisor, financial advisor, or lawyer regarding your specific circumstances. Investing involves risk, including the loss of principal. No strategy can guarantee any objective or goal will be achieved.